Welcome to part 13, and we followed the timeline of my own personal story in 2008. Now, looking back on the last few episodes, I generally forget how much good stuff there was back in those short 2 years that £35 jackpots were around. I mean, £35 jackpots were, in my opinion, like an interim, like a little period where they were just preparing for the £70 jackpots. It was like a little transition period. And yeah, I mean, like a lot of good stuff happens. And where this episode leads was to a point where, or a place where I never ever thought that I would be playing this particular unit, doing these sort of things. And that's purely because I generally believed that there was not enough money to be earned. The time that it took to play these things were too time costly. And I generally believed that there was more opportunity and bigger profits to be made on fruit machines in the pub scene. Now, what I'm going on about is quiz machines. Now, quiz machines are something that I played when I was in the pub with my mates having a few beers, and I used to see them quite frequently. Don't get me wrong, I used to put a few quid in there when I brought my drink, just to sort of like make it out to the landlord or the worker that I wasn't there just to play the fruit machine. I'd put a couple of quid in and try and play a few games. And yeah, it was something that I did take a very small interest in. But I didn't really open my eyes to the potential too much. Now, I knew that there was people that played quiz machines. I knew that there were some very, very clever people in the UK that knew how to beat them. But I'd never ever thought that it was worth my while. It was only until I went to a place called Kingston upon Thames, which is just here, southwest outside of London, that I met a guy. I bumped into him very, very briefly. For the first 20 minutes, I actually was just staring and watching. But I did bump into a guy who, at the time, states his words were that he plays quiz machines for a living. Now, just rewinding slightly, as mentioned in previous episodes, I never really travelled too far away from the south coast. The furthest I probably used to go, week to week, this was Basingstoke and Farnham, Camberley, Aldershot, Guildford. Those sort of places. A lot of money to be earned up those ways because of how busy the place is. Very well congested areas of residential and like pubs and stuff. And I was fully aware that it was fruit machine players from Reading, some from Aldershot, some from London, that played fruit machines in those areas. But you're not going to fix something when it's not broken. So I continued to go up those ways and did pretty well. Now, it was only when you start going to places and the fruit machines might disappear, or you might start finding things dead, that you travel a little bit further. So I started going a little bit further north, and I was going to Slough and Windsor and Staines, where LEG's from, and into Kingston. And this particular day that I went into Kingston, I saw this machine here. Cop a load of this. £35 jackpot, Red Gaming. There was this one, there was one called Fun Nudging Criminals. If I remember rightly, they weren't too great at 25, but 35 they were okay. But if it was to compare this to like an Invincible, in my opinion, it doesn't even come close. It was a good game when you caught it, but quite annoying because it had safe caches and they did like to throw big safe caches at you. But this game was what was in this pub. I could see it through the window and I thought I'd go into it. Now, I've tried looking for this pub. I've zoomed in Kingston. I can't find it. I think it's disappeared now, but there was a pub there that had this in, and I walked in there and there was a guy playing the quiz machine. Now, for me, if I ever saw another guy playing a fruit machine that I knew was playable, that had something on it, I reckon within 30 seconds to a minute I could work out if he knew what he was doing or if he was just a normal punter. You know, like I mentioned in previous episodes, confidence playing fruit machines, the stance, where they keep their coins in, how they play the machine, are all little things that you sort of learn as you like play machines more often. But someone playing a quiz machine is, like, in my opinion, really difficult to tell if they know what they're doing or whatever. So for me, at first, I just thought this guy was just a normal punter. But lo and behold, I was noticing that a lot of the money he was putting in, he was getting frequent money out, and he had quite a few coins down the bottom, and he was winning jackpots, or what at the time I thought they were jackpots, but they're actually like 6 quids and stuff. And I was quite in awe of it, and I thought, I'm going to watch this and try and talk to him. So thinking back very quickly, 2008, that sort of time, if any of you remember being in pubs, quiz machines were quite a well played like thing, weren't they, in pubs? I mean, a lot of people took an interest in them. They like playing them. Groups of people, like, you ever seen that In-Betweeners episode where Jay goes, it's C, and then it turns out to be B. That's the sort of thing that I used to do when I've had a few beers. It's a good laugh with your mates. But in this day and age, you don't really see quiz machines too much. I mean, there's a few that are about, but they used to be in every pub. Now, if they are in pubs, they're not even turned on. I think that's COVID, and I also think the interest is gone. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think many people enjoy playing quiz machines too much. And equal to that, there's been some recent tricks in the last few years which I believe they've probably lost a bit of money, and I don't think they're worthwhile anymore. That might be its own episode anyway, but to cut a long story short, back in 2008, quiz machines were popular and they were everywhere. So when I saw this guy playing this particular game, the first thing that came into my head was, if he's doing something, i.e. emptying this, I am losing out on a lot of money, because all these pubs that I'm going to play fruit machines have quizzes in, have this game in. So I was like, I need to find out what he's doing. And slowly but surely, I started noticing that he was winning like frequent £3 and £6 on a game called Connect 4. Now, Connect 4 is like any other game that you had played as a kid. One of you's reds, one of you's yellows, and you need to get 4 in a row, vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. But this game had a set few little rules. It was on like a big, grey, chunky quiz machine. I can't remember what it's called. If you can remember, please whack it in the comments, because it's been doing my head in for ages. This particular game was unique because it had a really easy question bank. The question bank was quite small, which means that the questions that it asked you would come around quite frequently, and it is programmed to mirror your move. So what I mean by that, just looking here straight away in the center, this Connect 4, if you was to place your chip here, the computer would automatically mirror you. It was programmed to do that. So basically what you could do is you could try and get further up the board and Connect 4. And depending on where you ended and how many moves you'd gone, because every move you made, you had to answer a question to make that move, you would increase your amounts of money that you would win. So very easy concept is that as long as you knew this order to place the chips, this set order, the computer would mirror that set order, and the question banks were so easy that you could get yourself really high up and earn yourself like 3 or 6 quid or whatever it might have been. So it's costing you 50p to earn that, and that would happen every single time. Now the machine wouldn't go dead, it was a fair game every single time, so it was a full-blown empty. Now at the time, he never told me how this was done, but it was clear as daylight when I spoke to him that he knew exactly how he was playing quizzes, and it actually went empty right there in front of me. And all he did was like turn it on and off, and it cleared the bank or something like that. And he just walked out. And straight away I was thinking, motherfucker, like, how much money am I missing out on here? Lo and behold, the actual trick came out like a day later. So I got a phone call, and I was back down in Pompey way, and yeah, you got any Connect 4s, blah blah, the usual chat. And I was like, yeah, I know where a few are. I went straight to him and I emptied it, got the order and I emptied it, and it was in a place at the outskirts of Southampton, in this place here, Old Netley, in a pub called the Plough, which is right there. Now this pub here, right there, has changed a lot in recent years. It never used to look like this. It's much more modernised now. It was quite a dull, dingy pub actually. The same size, big car park here. And I went in there, it had a fruit machine as well, or maybe 2. And it had a quiz machine, it had a Connect 4. So Connect 4, went in there and I emptied it. And it was hit or miss how much it would be in the hopper. Like, I remember sometimes them having like 70 quid in, 80 quid in. Other times it was 125. And this was the common occurrence as the years went on. Quiz machines, especially on Paragons and Paragon Pros, which, by the way, is this one here. So everyone could probably remember these warehouse games on there. Yeah, there was multiple different amounts that could be in the pub. It was all down to the company that supplied it, but also the landlord, and they would float the games different amounts. So sometimes you would only be going there weekly and taking 70 quid out, and other times you'd be taking a little bit more. But Connect 4 was a game that lasted for a long, long time, and this was something which was very, very cheeky, because they actually removed the game eventually. They couldn't fix it, and they removed it. But when you remove a game, in this day and age, it gets wiped off the system, and there's no way of accessing it. But back then, all they did was put it in the back screen, something that you couldn't access unless you had a refill key, and you had the managerial code, or whatever it's called, the engineer code. Now, this is how stupid they were, right? What you could do is you could put your refill key in. This is the game. The Connect 4 is now not on the screen. You could put your refill key in. You could type the code in, which I remember was like 1234 or like 0000. It's something really easy, and then you could just load the game back onto the front screen again. You could then empty the machine, and then guess what you'd do? You would just disappear the game back into the back by taking it back off the front screen. And that went on for ages. I mean, I remember traveling the country in 2009, which is going to be in its own episode, a really, really good episode, where I was seeing people playing these and doing this in the pubs. The game lasted a long, long time. Eventually, they put in an alarm. If you put your refill key in, it would actually alarm. Happened a few times to me, and yeah, it's quite difficult to explain it, because it's a deliberately implemented anti-fraud measure by the company. But that is Connect 4. Now, at the same time, or very similar time, on this particular terminal, the Paragon Pro, there were games such as The Phrase That Pays. There was also games such as Stacker, if anyone remembers that. It was a pure skill game, and also like Casino Royale and those sort of games. And a lot of them were like brilliant, brilliant games, but required a lot of skill. Casino Royale, for example, which was like this skill roulette game, you could either play it on like 10p, 20p or 50p, and there was like this power bar that used to go. I can't find any pictures, so sorry, you have to just go off my my own storytelling. And then you could aim the ball to win a prize. So basically, you could win money every single time if you were really good at skill. And then there was also, if my memory serves me well, like a circle of misses that if you like filled up as well, you get a mystery prize. So basically, there was like a roulette wheel, and you could hit the certain numbers, and certain numbers were much more difficult than others. Different speeds as well. And when a machine you kept on winning out of it went behind, it became near enough impossible at the time to keep hitting those numbers. But that was like a pure skill game. Very, very good game, by the way, for those that played them. But you needed that element of skill. The Phrase That Pays, though, this one on the left, a great little number this was. Basically, you could get free credits on this game by putting something like, I think you needed that. It's 50p a play, but you needed like an odd amount in there, like 70p or something like that. I think if I remember rightly, did I put £1.20 in it and then play 50p off and then play another? It was something like that. And when you had an odd amount in there, you could play unlimited games, and you could buzz the heck out of that game by rejecting everything. The game itself is like, there's a phrase there, loads of letters missing, and then like you can accept or reject certain like little phrases and fill the name, but you're against the clock. And then all you would do is you would buzz the hell out of this game, and then once you then played it properly, you just press accept, and it would accept all the letters straight away and fill your name, the phrase, and the different. Say you filled out phrase number 1, that's level 1 complete, then number 2, then number 3. And if you got all the way to the top, you win 10 quid. Now, a lot of the time, it did take time, this one, but you could win 10 quid pretty quickish at the beginning. And after that, it would take time to then juice it back up and do it again, juice it back up, do it again. It was a complete legal way of taking every pound coin out of a quiz machine. If I remember rightly, and this is like a long, long time ago, when £6 like came to level 6, which was like the 6th phrase if you got right, you could then start playing it. It was something like that. And it starts with like boosts as well, like reveals and like extra little bits. It was a good little game. But I used to reject like 30 or 40 games. That was like my time frame. So play with the free credits, just keep rejecting, lose, reject, boost it up, buzz it up, and then after about 30, 40, then start playing it. So to cut a long story short, the phrase that pays, it would be £10 that cost you nothing. And that's because you buzz it up yourself for free because of that free credit, and then just play it normally afterwards. Great little games. There has been so many different quiz machine empties over the years, and this was the first time in my time where I actually was involved with one, and that was Connect 4. The phrase that pays was one that I did quite a lot as well. There was one particular pub that I had a £35 working cabin fever and a £35 do ho ho, which I've done episodes on both of them, and within that pub also a phrase that pays. Every single week, where they were all full, it was a massive earner. So yeah, good old days. Quiz machines then, guys. Please whack in the comments any of your, quiz machine stories. Loads of different games I've missed. There's been plenty on there that you can do. There's unfortunately not a lot of good pictures or plays to highlight and show what they were. So I'm really sorry about that. But I hope that you could still understand the concept and the amount of money that was earned from those particular quiz machines. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Much love like usual. Ta-da.